So I was actually explaining that the reason why I wanted to do this video today and share with you was to assist you and give you some tools in order to help you with detoxing emotions and detoxing our energetic body. And our energetic body comprises of an emotional sheath, and so it is also in our energetic body. So we're actually serving a couple of purposes there. So we need to understand that where our emotions come from. Where do they arise? And the best way that I can describe that is that there are two different, well, I'm sure there's more, but there are areas in which we store emotions. One is when we express or when we feel a particular emotion, what is happening to the body. And so when we have any kind of event happening in our life, what takes place is that there's a thought. And because the event brings us, the experience brings us some sort of a thought. And then the thought goes, the mind goes, okay, well, how can I relate to this? I need to go to my data bank called the subconscious mind, and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to go see if there's anything in the past that looks and appears like what I'm experiencing right now. And so it's almost like a computer, like a database, filtering through and going through all of the subconscious events and memories that we have. And then it pulls it forth into today's experience and says, look, I've brought you all of this. So, wow, do you remember when you experienced this? You had this emotion. Do you remember when you experienced this? You had this emotion. And so all of a sudden, our bodies are remembering the emotions. And then something else happens. When our body starts to express any kind of emotion, what ends up happening is that emotion has a very particular frequency. So every different type of emotion has a specific frequency. And so then our energetic body totally gets into this frequency, this vibration, and because of the law of attraction, what we do is we send out that vibration just as if you were tuning into a radio station, and then when you find that dial, that station, that comes right back at you. And then we continue to experience more of that emotion. So when we understand how our energetic body reacts to emotions, then, it's a lot easier to be the observant in the experience as it is to actually be so enthroned into all of the emotions of everything. So having said that, then, how do we help ourselves heal from the emotions? So we need to understand that emotions are there for us to create an experience. And although we as humans see emotions as duality, we see it as good or bad, or negative or positive, in actual fact, we are a spirit having an amazing human experience. And that's what it is experience. Simple. It's nothing more than that. We are our God self, having our own self-expression and our own experience to know ourselves better. And although that may be far more than you've ever considered or can even comprehend, and that's okay, but this is something that I know resonates as truth for me, and it may or may not resonate for you, and that's okay. So how do we deal with our emotions? Well, I think the first thing is to make sure that you're not trying to shove them underneath the carpet, because that's not going to solve anything. We need to acknowledge our emotions. We need to make sure that we acknowledge them in a very loving and gentle way. And if we are feeling that we're done with that emotion, we're thinking that we've learned the lesson around this, then we need to find a way to surrender it. And there's a couple of different ways that we can do that. One is if there's something very particular that you're dealing with, maybe it's a trauma, maybe some sort of life event experience that you're experiencing, write about it. Take the time to journal everything. Jot it out, dump it out, no censoring. And then at the end of your journaling, then you need to bring gratitude into that experience. Find those nuggets that you've learned. Find how that has enriched your life. And then take that letter and in a safe way, take it and maybe take it outside and burn it. Find a way to safely burn it and release it with the intention of releasing that and allowing it to go to something much bigger than yourself. Whether you believe in God or Allah or Buddha or the divine or whatever you want to call it, go ahead and release it to that. And if you don't believe in any of those things, just release it to the stars. That's good too. And in that process, we then are healing and releasing. So that's one way to deal with some emotions. The other way is a technique that's been around for centuries, which is called tapping, but has recently really have come to surface through, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but I'll post it later, and it's called emotional freedom technique. And what it is that on certain meridians, we are actually tapping the emotion or the pain that we are experiencing. And with affirmations and verbal talking, as in saying what it is that we are feeling, acknowledging that first, and then changing the language throughout the tapping. So I'm not going to get into that as a lesson here today because I don't want to take too much of your time, but I will post, I promise to post something a little later on today that you can go ahead and watch some great videos that explains it in much more depth. But basically what you're doing is you're dealing with the amygdala, which is the reptilian brain, that fight, flight, or freeze, right? We respond in those ways for survival. And so what happens is we get caught up in that for a long time. We no longer can reset ourselves to being relaxed. And so this is a wonderful way to deal with very specific meridians that help us to reset that the reptilian brain and get us more into a relaxed state and releasing those emotions. So that's another tip. The other one is also through holistic therapies, such as Reiki. You could use integrated energy therapy. There's some shamanic work, some shamanic practices can assist you with releasing some of the old stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of different variations. I do want to talk a little bit about integrated energy therapy. We also call it IET. And that particular therapy is where the practitioner actually touches very specific integration points on your body to release certain emotions that tend to be stuck in the chakra zones. So for instance, the top of the head is about releasing guilt. And once those integration points are connected with practitioner, then they go through a process where they're releasing the guilt for you, and that can show up as visual, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient for the practitioner. And sometimes there's some really beautiful insight that comes out in the clairs. So then the practitioner would, once they've released a lot of what needs to be released at the time, then they go ahead and they'll change their integration points to tap into bringing in the imprintation of the opposite emotion. Like guilt, the opposite would be innocence. So then we go through a whole process of that. And so that is done through the whole body and through the body zones and the integration points. And the other thing that I want you to be aware of is that we are born with cellular memory of our ancestors. And what that means is every cell in our body has memory. It's like its own little brain, if you want. And oftentimes, sometimes emotions arise for us, and we don't really understand where it might come from. And that's possibly that what you're doing is you're activating a cellular memory from your ancestors, something that your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and I think we can go back to about 7 generations, that is imprinted in our memories. And so we do need to, at some point in our lives, look at healing those emotions, those memories for our ancestors. And I've done a lot of that in the last 3 years or so, and maybe one day I'll get to share a few stories with you. So that's what I wanted to share with you in regards to the emotions, just some tips around that. And then I want to talk more broadly about our energetic body. You know, what are we? We're more than this physical body, so much more than this physical body. And one of the reasons why we call this Reset Your Body detox is it's not just about the food that we eat and the supplements that we take through the transdermal medicines. It's really much more than that, because we are this vibrational body. We are this magnetic field, always like, you know, if you know anything about quantum physics, we are always in movement. And we do talk about different sheaths around our body. There's the subtle body, there's the emotional body, there's the mental, the mind body, there's the spiritual body. And depending on what philosophy, Eastern philosophy you believe in or that you've studied, there would be maybe some different layers added to that. So there's a lot of things that we can do to clear that, right? Because that hangs on to a lot of what I like to call imbalances. Like, we carry a lot of stuff around with us. And some of it doesn't even belong to us, and some of it just is ours, and we've carried it for a long time. So how do we clear that? And there's a couple of beautiful rituals that you can turn into some amazing ceremonies to help you clear that. And I brought a few items in with me today in order to show you the different ways that we can clear our energetic body. And the most common that you probably have heard is something that we call smudging. So smudging is where you normally, in our northern hemisphere, we use sage in Canada. That seems to be the most popular way to smudge. And it is sage that is picked, dried and bundled, but when it's picked with honor. It's picked with ceremony. There is always a mindful conversation that happens with the plant. We never eradicate the whole plant. We pick only certain branches that the plant is actually allowing us to retrieve. And it is with gratitude that we express thanks for the sage plant for sharing part of their being. And we always offer tobacco in return for the gifts that the plant and the medicine that the plant is giving us. So we have what we call sage, but not in all parts of the world does sage exist. And so another very popular way to smudge with smoke is what we call a Palo Santo stick. And it has a really nice sweet smell to it. It is something that I use alternatively with the sage. And when you're getting ready to do your smudge, it is really important that you have the elements present in your ceremony. You need to have a fire that exists, and the smoke from the sage or the Palo Santo stick will represent the fire as well. You need to have something that represents wind. In my case, I have a eagle feather. And you need something that represents the element of water, which is what I have in the shell, is representation of water. And I also like to add something that represents earth, and in this case I have a little statue of an owl that I always like to have with me. And so when we actually get ready for a smudge, I always like to light a candle first, because I find sometimes the smoke doesn't last as long as you need for the actual ritual. And we will try today with the sage, which is a really nice bundle. And we're going to go ahead and light it up. And it's going to create smoke. You're going to just allow that to burn a little bit. Okay. And we now have this amazing stream of smoke. And when you're smudging, the very first thing that you should be smudging is your hands. And then you want to take that to the crown of your head. And basically you're wanting to take it to all of your chakras. So we start off with the crown, and that is cleansing our spiritual self. And then we're going to go ahead and cleanse all of our senses, our eyes, our nose, our mouth, our ears. And I have a mantra that I like to express when I'm doing this. You can find your own, of course. But for me, it's about always recognizing the spiritual truth, seeing the truth, hearing the truth, speaking the truth, smelling the truth. And then I bring that to my throat, where I is part of the communicating and the speaking the truth, or listening to truth. And then I bring it to my heart, where I'm expressing the intention of always knowing from a heart center the truth, from a place of love. And then you can take it to all of your other chakras, and then feel free to go ahead and smudge each foot, because we are walking on the earth with our feet. It's nice to cleanse that as well. And then we can take that smudge and just go ahead and bring it all the way around us in order to help clear our emotional and vibrational body all the way around us. And if there's someone doing this ritual with you, then it's important for them to take that smudge stick and smudge the back of your body as well. But you can do the best you can with your hands. And the same thing rings true with a Paleo Santo stick. You just go ahead and light your stick on fire. It will start to smoke. And then the same thing, we always start with our hands, because we touch the truth, or everything that we pick up a lot of energies with the hands. And then we go ahead and go through the process of going and smudging our whole energetic body. You can also take your smudge and your feather and go around the whole house, starting at the front door, and then going in a clockwise direction, making sure that you're clearing the whole area. What's important is the intention needs to be that you are clearing, cleansing, and protecting your space, your body, whether it's your home as in your house, or whether it's your temple as your home as your body. So that's how we would smudge. Now, there are some people that suffer from asthma, and so smoke is a problem. So what I've done is I've created essential oil blend. It has some frankincense in it, some clary sage, some lavender, and I think some thyme. And you can certainly feel free and use the essential oil with the same intention of clearing and cleansing your auric body. So that's another way to do it. Another way that I love to clear my energy, if I'm feeling like some stuff is stuck to me, is if you have a Tibetan bowl, a singing bowl, feel free to go ahead and play that around your body. This has a very beautiful high vibration, and so what that is doing is it's helping you change your energetic body's vibration, the frequency that you are personally experiencing at the time, and it helps to remove that, because it's it's changing that what we'll call a lower vibration and moving it into a higher vibration. So you can simply just start doing this around your energetic body, and bringing it down to your feet, over your head, and then go ahead and just play the bowl until you feel that the energy around you has shifted. So those are really the tips that I have today. There's many different ways that we can work with our emotions and with our energetic body in detoxing. I just wanted to share a few tips with you today, and feel free to ask me any questions at all. If there's something that is said that evokes a question, I'll be happy to respond. And I will definitely send you a couple of links in order to elaborate on some of the information I shared with you today. So we're now going into our 3 days of detox, and I wish you all very well. I want you to remember that this is about rest. This is really, really important. Do not have a to-do list in the next 3 days. Allow yourself to rest. Your body needs this time, right? We are now removing all of those toxins, and our body needs our support for that. So please honor that and rest. If you want to look at, because we're so busy doing stuff all the time, perhaps you may want to look at filling your day with, doing one type of breath, and then a little later coming to your yoga mat or being outside and doing one restorative pose outside, and then having your breakfast, and then a little bit later on doing another breath, and then possibly coming to your mat and doing one other restorative pose for 15 minutes. That can easily fill your day where you are just allowing yourself to heal. So please honor that. Your temple needs it, your body needs it, and when I mean body, your whole body needs it, your whole energetic body, mind and spirit, and honor that. So I wish you well. Purnima and I are both doing this detox as well, so we want to limit our frequency to the phones, the Reset Your Body even page, unless there's really something you're needing to express or to share. But stay away from your laptops, stay away from your iPods, stay away from television if you can. You can read a little bit, but not too much. I know that hockey is huge, and I believe the Jets are playing tomorrow night again. So if that's the case and you are participating in that, then maybe allow yourself to only do that and nothing else when it comes to electronics. So be well. We're with you. We're doing this together as a community, and yeah, let's do this together. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me.